All right, guys. I am back again. Second video of today. Let me hide these controls. So we just got done with the video about the introduction. It's three parts. They're seen here. Next up is a body paragraph that's very new to this process, right? Last time you went directly into reason one. I'm not going to do that this time. The first body paragraph that you write isn't a reason at all. This is all background information on the moment that you picked. Okay, background information on the moment that you picked. So I chose the gas-powered car. This entire paragraph, and you're going to see it right here, you'll notice that when you read it, it's just information. This is the info I think anyone that reads this is going to need about the background on the history of cars. Now, if I were to put everything in my paper about the history of cars, it would take 9 trillion pages, right? It's my job to go in, and I found a great website right here about the history of cars. It's my job to go in and go, okay, what do I want to include? What do I need to tell my reader about the history of cars so they understand that moment? Okay, so if you choose 9/11, you might go through the timeline of 9/11, right? And just tell us about what happened that day. If you chose the Black Death, the plague that happened in Europe, you might go through and just tell us when was that? Where did it happen? How many people passed away? The who, what, when, where, why, and hows is what you want to have in your background. In this paragraph, nowhere in here am I trying to convince anyone that the gas-powered car is the most important moment in history. You're not going to see that in here. This is not a persuasive paragraph. This is just strictly informational. Okay. And I got to pick and choose what I wanted. And you'll notice after each thing that I put, right, and it's all paraphrased. This should all be paraphrased. These are all my words, but I took all this information from this website. The history of cars, and specifically gas-powered combustion engine cars, is a lengthy one. The beginnings can be traced to Europe, specifically Germany, and the invention of the combustion engine in around 1876. It wasn't until 10 years later that gas-powered cars became more commercialized in Europe, and it was another 10 years until gas-powered cars reached their more modern form. After another 5 to 7 years, the gas-powered car made its way to America. However, due to the lack of proper roads, the vastness of the country, and the reliance on more urban-type transportation, it took some time for the gas-powered car to catch on in the States. The gas-powered car craze really began to take hold with Henry Ford in the year 1903. It was then that Ford created a company specifically focused on producing internal combustible engine cars. In 1908, Ford mass-produced his Model T car and thus gave access to the gas-powered car to not just the rich, but to many more in the general population of America. Now, I didn't go past 1908. Boom, car invented, I stopped there. But that's kind of the background that leads up to the invention of the gas-powered car. The second part of this paragraph is just a little transition that's going to lead us to our first reason. Okay. So mine says, as the Model T and other vehicles became more prevalent in the United States, there were both positive and negative impacts. And then down here, what am I going to talk about first? A positive impact. Okay. See how that leads right in? My first body paragraph that I came up with was I wanted to focus on the positive impact of these cars and how people use those cars for leisure time or relaxation. So this background paragraph is two parts. Background, strictly informational, all paraphrased, and a transition sentence that leads us to our first reason. Okay? Take your time, research, 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 and just put in the things that make sense to you and the things that are needed for someone to understand the background of your event.